What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan is marking the 36th anniversary of the June 4th Tiananmen Square incident, when Chinese troops opened fire on student democracy protesters in Beijing. The crackdown left hundreds, if not thousands, dead and brought China's democracy movement to a halt. Rick Lowett is in Taipei for us. Rick, how is Taiwan marking this anniversary?
Well, here at Taipei's Freedom Square, pro-democracy groups, NGOs and activists are setting up stalls for a democracy market. Later, there's going to be screenings, speeches and a candlelight vigil to remember those that died at Tiananmen Square. Taiwan is, of course, the only Chinese-speaking country where an event like this could take place. Any mention of Tiananmen on the Chinese mainland has been banned for years, and more recently also in Hong Kong. And in fact, Hong Kongers in Taiwan, many of whom moved here to escape that crackdown by Beijing, are holding their own event not far from here later this evening. Attendees and organisers of both events, there is a sense that they have a duty to keep the memory of that push for democracy in China alive.
So, Rick, it's been nearly 4 decades since the Tiananmen crackdown. Why do people here in Taiwan continue to commemorate this event?
Well, for many people here, the lessons of Tiananmen are becoming more and more relevant. Taiwan is still pushing back against the Chinese Communist Party, which claims sovereignty over Taiwan. And the theme of the event here today is pushing back on transnational repression and authoritarianism, an issue here in Taiwan, but also in other places around the world like Ukraine. Earlier today, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te took to social media. He said that Taiwan refuses to forget that day and that democracies must preserve the truth and never forget those who gave their lives for human rights.
Thanks, Rick. We'll catch up with you again later this evening as the vigil begins. Taiwan's opposition-held legislature has passed a resolution calling for the country's biggest power plant to go coal-free by 2028.
台中发电厂应逐年提出并落实减煤计划，并在2028年完成无煤中火之国家减碳目标。
The resolution was put forward by the opposition Kuomintang and the smaller Taiwan People's Party. They say the Taichung power plant, one of the world's biggest, has damaged local air quality and affected people's health. It comes as ruling and opposition parties clash over the country's energy policy. Taiwan shut down its last nuclear reactor last month, but the opposition has been trying to reverse course on the government's nuclear-free policy. The DPP has criticised the resolution, saying Taichung's coal consumption actually soared when the KMT was in power.
台中人什么时候用废发电，什么时候火力全开，就在马总统执政的时候。
Taiwan's state-owned energy provider Taipower has said that going coal-free by 2028 would paralyse the country's power grid. Mexico says it plans to ask for an exemption from new US levies on aluminium and steel after the tariff is set to double to 50% on Wednesday.
Pediremos el día viernes que sea México excluido de esta medida, igual que lo fue el Reino Unido. Es lo que vamos a plantear. Entonces, ¿cómo veo esta medida? La veo injusta, la veo insostenible y la veo inconveniente. 3 Cs.
US neighbours Mexico and Canada are to be hit hardest by the tariffs. Canada is the biggest source of both steel and aluminium exports to the US, while Mexico ranks 3rd in steel shipments. The UK is the only trading partner so far to sign a deal with Washington, exempting them from the tariffs. US President Donald Trump has asked all US trade partners to submit their best offer for a trade deal by Wednesday to avoid US tariffs. Taiwan says it's looking forward to deepening ties with South Korea and working with its new president Lee Jae-myung after the opposition leader claimed victory following months of political turmoil. The new president promises unity, but with the country still reeling from the ouster of the last president, he'll have more than just domestic politics to worry about. John Van Trieste reports.
Lee Jae-myung takes to the stage as South Korea's president. It was a high-stakes 3-way election, and Lee's left-leaning Democratic Party clinched it with around 50% of the vote. They won't be the opposition anymore. It's 6 months to the day that the last president, Yoon Suk-yeol, of the rival People Power Party, shocked the nation by declaring martial law. The crisis that followed led to Yoon's ouster. This chaos sparked strong feelings and may have spurred the highest voter turnout in decades, at nearly 80%. Lee has pledged no more jolts.
여러분이 저에게 맡기신 첫 번째 사명, 내란을 확실히 극복하고 다시는 국민이 맡긴 총칼로 국민을 겁박하는 군사 쿠데타는 없게 하는 일.
At the headquarters of the main rival People Power Party, subdued supporters clap as their freshly defeated candidate, Kim Moon-soo, makes his own stage appearance. Though the past few months have seen bitter political wrangling, Kim's words are calm.
I humbly accept the will of the people. I extend my congratulations to candidate Lee Jae-myung. I will never forget the people's overwhelming support and encouragement.
But while the election is settled, the president may find the road ahead far from smooth. He's promised to bring a politically fractured country together, but even some of his supporters say that may not be easy.
In this election, which served as a judgment on the insurrection crisis, the opposition should have won by a landslide. So while I'm pleased with the result, the fact that the margin wasn't overwhelmingly large also reminds me that we still face many challenges ahead.
There's also the question of North Korea. The president says he'll look for dialogue, coexistence, and even shared prosperity. But how he'll manage that is another matter. And then there's the fact that the economy weighs just as heavily as the recent strife on many voters' minds, something several of them mentioned even before the election results came out.
The economy has gotten really bad, and it's not just me, everyone's saying the same thing. I hope the economy improves. Also, the polarization of our society has become too extreme. U.S. tariffs are having a huge impact on us, and with the leadership seat currently vacant, we're in an urgent situation, especially when it comes to things like nuclear plant exports and tariff negotiations.
So the South Korean people have given their mandate, but they have expectations that could be tricky for the new administration to meet. Luffy Lee and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
COVID-19 cases are surging around Taiwan, and last week saw the highest number of severe cases reported so far this year. The Centers for Disease Control says nearly 63,000 people visited a hospital last week for the disease, and infections are expected to keep rising in June. This latest surge follows last weekend's Dragon Boat Festival, when many Taiwanese were out celebrating with family and friends. The CDC is reminding people to mask up and rest at home if they have mild symptoms, and to seek medical help if needed. 2 more research centres have joined forces to help create military drones for Taiwan as part of its growing ambition to become a major drone supplier. The MOU between the Zhongshan Institute and National Zhongzheng University is aimed at building drone supply chains that don't rely on Chinese-made components. It was signed as the institute released footage of its new Jinfeng 1 attack drone, successfully identifying a target and detonating nearby. China currently dominates the global drone market. Every year, the Edison Awards honor worldwide excellence in innovation. This year, one of Taiwan's top research institutes won 7 awards, claiming nearly half of Taiwan's 18 total wins. Leslie Liao reports from a joint ceremony marking Taiwan's achievements.
Taiwan doesn't just make the chips that go into cutting-edge technology, it's also proven itself to be an innovation heavyweight. The country's Industrial Technology Research Institute, or ITRI, is celebrating its 7 wins at this year's Edison Awards. The institute took home prizes for innovations in areas like environmental sustainability, energy management, and medical technology. One of those inventions is a low-carbon laser that makes it easier, more energy efficient, and more environmentally friendly to create H-beams commonly used in construction.
焊接的这个过程是这整个生产线上面最重要的一个 bottleneck 哈。我们现在如果改成是雷射焊接的话，产数是5倍。
One of the top-rated e-tree innovations at the Edison Awards this year is an underground leak detection system. It uses AI and sound waves to find leaks in underground plumbing systems. It's hailed as a game changer because traditional leak detection is a labor-intensive and highly specialized skill. And that's not to mention its role in saving scarce water resources.
我们全台湾其实这种专业的人力大概就是80几个啊，他要检测全台那种6万多个管线自来水管就6万多管线，他要每年一巡啊，其实2年一巡是最好的，可是他巡检不完。
E-tree isn't the only Taiwan institution that's won at this year's Edison Awards. Institutes like National Taiwan University and the Taiwan Textile Research Institute also took home prizes as well, proving that Taiwan's not only behind the components that go into groundbreaking innovations, but it's also very much an innovator in and of itself. Patrick Sun and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
This week, we are counting down to what could be Taiwan's first moon landing. It's a historic mission in collaboration with Japanese firm iSpace. Joyce Tseng will be bringing us the latest from Tokyo tomorrow, but first we take a closer look at the Taiwan-made lunar device. In this excerpt of TaiwanPlus's new show, Small Island, Big Ideas, Joyce went to meet the team behind the country's first lunar device. It's called Deep Space Radiation Probe, or DSRP. It's made by students at a research university in northern Taiwan, and there were quite a few obstacles to overcome.
Because the DSRP is hitching a ride on iSpace's Resilience lander, a big part of the challenge was that it had to meet very specific criteria. With ride sharing, you pay for an allotted spot on the spacecraft and you don't get much room to bargain. In the DSRP's case, the team secured 400 grams of space for their payload. Not a lot, and it could not consume more than 0.9 watts of power. An external hard drive draws more power than that. And another factor was that for the DSRP to measure radiation, it had to go on the exterior of the spacecraft. If it were put inside the lander, it would be sort of shielded from the ionizing radiation by the body of the spacecraft, which would affect the data.
We were able to design something that can withstand 33 times its own weight in terms of mechanical load, can actually either continuously face the sun on the lander and get to extremely high temperatures, or face cold space and go to extremely low temperatures, and at the same time be confident that we can perform the scientific measurements that we want and interface successfully with the lunar lander to deliver data that will be delivered back to Earth.
When the DSRP sends its data back, it shows up on this dashboard. And if things don't go according to plan, Zhou explains that there are ways to fix it from Earth.
那我们也有一些应对方案去做解决，跟 comment 的方案。对，那可能第一时间如果真的不能通得上，我们就是让它做 power recycle， 去看可不可以重新连接这样。
Zhou was sent to Florida to represent the DSRP team and witness the rocket launch on January 15th, 2025. Meanwhile, at National Central University, Dr. Chang and several of Zhou's classmates gathered to watch the historic moment on the big screen.
So we had a smooth launch the first time, which is very nice. Doesn't always happen. Launch is just the beginning of the mission, so there's a lot more to go. But we're really excited to be able to go beyond low Earth orbit, go to the moon, and hopefully be Taiwan's first successful lunar payload on the moon.
You can catch more of that next week. The full episode of Small Island, Big Ideas will premiere on YouTube. Search Taiwan Explained by TaiwanPlus. And be sure to tune in here tomorrow as Joyce Tseng brings us the latest from Tokyo. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, let's check out this small village in Colombia where they've turned the main street into a giant slide. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.